Hello, hello, hello. This is Tyler James with Comics Launch, and I have another special Comics Launch live stream and interview for you all today. This is a topic that's going to be really targeted at the creators out there who are maybe at the beginning of their journey or trying to sort of deal with all of the seemingly huge obstacles that are in the way to actually getting your work out there and out the door. And so I have a creator that has done that, has got his first launch out the gate, his first comic book together, and we're going to talk a little bit about that process and about overcoming so many of the obstacles that can get in the way of just even getting started in this game. And so my guest today is a creator who you may not have heard of yet, but you are going to soon get to know a lot about him. He is a first-time author, and his book is called Eye for an Eye. And he also has an upcoming comic called Fighter, which recently won Coverfly's top graphic novel script of the year badge. When he's not writing comics, he works as an inside wireman electrician, and he's also a member of his local union. He and his wife also just celebrated their son's first birthday. He's a creator in Central Oregon. And so welcome to Comics Launch, Chance Edgerly. How you doing, Chance?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here and for sharing a little bit about your journey thus far. Before we sort of dive too deep, though, into your backstory and everything, let's point people over to the Kickstarter, which is went live a few days ago, is now over 50% funded. This is Eye for an Eye. This is your first Kickstarter launch. What can you tell us about this book?
Yeah, so it's a kind of a little noir thriller. It's kind of an interesting one to try to promote because it is kind of a unique style. But there's only 3 characters in it. They play a little bit of a cat and mouse, and hopefully I keep you guys guessing until the end. And it's got a pretty good, shocking ending, I hope.
Yeah. So this is a self-contained one-shot, right? So this kind of a debut. You're going to take a chance on a new creator, but it's you'll get a full story. I think 28 pages or thereabouts in one, right?
Yes, sir. It's a little bit shorter form than I'm used to writing, but that was kind of the goal.
Yeah, nice. So let's talk a little bit about what went into leading up to this book. What's your comics origin story? What got you into and interested into creating comics, or and what's your relationship with this medium up until sort of launching this Kickstarter?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 90s. I always loved all those 90s cartoons, the Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, TMNT. That stuff kind of got me into comics in the first place. And I was always a writer as a kid. I always wrote a bunch of stories and tried my hand at novels and plays and wrote movie scripts and all that stuff. So kind of naturally led into writing comics. And Fighter, my first comic that I wrote, was kind of the first comic story I had, and tried to get that all going, and then which led to this.
Yeah. And so, one of the obstacles that writers come up with is sometimes they even if they want to do comics, they may look at their own abilities as an artist and say, well, I don't think I can properly draw this thing the way I'd like it to look. So is this a comic? Should it not be a novel? Should it not be a thing? And so I guess what's some of the reasons why you decided, like, even if you are not inclined to draw your comics yourself, like what made you say, all right, I still want to work in this medium?
I think just the passion for it, man. We read comics. I love comics. It's a medium that my mind kind of flays to. I like the visual, even though I can't draw the visual. I still think in a visual medium, and so that was an interesting transition. I've tried to write novels my whole life, and trying to make that transition into actually writing in a comic form was a fun challenge.
Yeah, and I think one of the beautiful things about like writing for comics, and specifically like the comic book medium, is that there's only so many pages that in your standard staple bound comic. On every page there's only so much information, so much story that you can tell. per page, in terms of the shots that you take, the amount of panels that you can fit on a page, and in a lot of ways, like those constraints that you have as a comic book creator, like can really set you free to actually complete something. I know, whenever I've tried really long form writing, or like a novel that could be any word count or any length, it can also be it can often be daunting to you know actually get it to a completion. I think comics, especially short form comics, like a one shot, um, what's nice about them is you can actually get them out, and then if you can pull together a team for it, you can actually put this in front of someone's hands, versus the screenplays that nobody ever actually gets around to reading, or
Right.
large trunk novels that you never quite get through that third editing pass on.
Yeah, it's intimidating. Not that the writing the comic wasn't intimidating, but it's the shorter form allowed me to at least complete it.
Yeah.
And then you start editing, and you can actually make it nice and polished.
Yeah. And so I do still get a lot of comments when I put episodes out into the world, or sometimes on like ads I run for some of the stuff that we do at Comics Launch. I get comments from writers or creators who say, "Hey, I'm a really good writer. I got really good ideas, but I can't draw. What do I do? Or what's the next step? Or how do you even go about finding an artist when you don't have any real credits in this industry yet?" And so
Right.
I guess you're someone that has overcome that obstacle. So what was your path to that? And did you find that a real challenge? Was that something that held you back for a while, or did you just tackle it, or what worked for you?
Yeah, after I finished the script and was like, okay, how am I going to get this moving forward? Because I cannot draw worth anything. We started down the pursuit of an artist, and we did the usual path. Started looking through Instagram and looking through all the venues and finding these artists and reaching out, and not really getting any feedback and not getting any answers back until I started really digging. I my wife would argue this point that I had looked at like 2,000 artists or so. Hey, hon, what do you think of this guy? She's like, I don't care. He seems fine. Until I found Stan Yak, who's the artist on this guy. He was very honest with me, honest on price, good feedback on what he wanted to see from a script, was willing to work with me, which is huge. Once we came to an agreement and started moving forward, he was great to collaborate with.
Yeah, that's it's not always the fastest, quickest decision to make, or the fastest journey. I think, especially when you're getting into this, that finding the right partner is one of the most important decisions that you're going to end up making throughout the whole project. And so, what was it about Stan's stuff that stood out? And then I guess also for the artists out there that are listening, that are like, "Hey, I'm putting myself out for jobs, or I'm trying to get work from aspiring writers like Chance." What was it that Stan did, if anything in particular, that made him, I'm going to do my usual bad dad joke pun, but what made him stand out?
Nice. Yes, I understand what you mean. Yes.
I'm gonna get Brant to like just play groans.
There you go.
or Muppet yucks or something in the background.
Perfect. No, he has a cover for one of the TMNT Last Ronin books that is like super highly detailed, very grabbing. It's got some nice bloody scenes to it, and it just really fit the theme I was going for in this book.
Yeah.
And he's very clean interior, very great visual storyteller. And then once we got into contact, he was just great to work with. He was very open to any suggestions I had. Was very open to any kind of ideas I wanted to run by him. He would change things if I needed him to. He was just great to work with.
Yeah.
I
would say very strong art for your book, which is always, that's like the first box that you can check as a first time creator putting your first work out out into the world and launching it is, if you can check the box of, hey, my art is professional because I'm working with a professional. That's one feather in your cap, and one puts you already ahead of a lot of what the first work, so to speak, that creators do out there. So, good on you for taking the time to find the right artist there.
It took some time, but it was worth the wait. And if I drew the book, then nobody was going to look at it. So
yeah. And then, in addition to Stan, you also put together some variant covers, right?
yeah.
So that and how'd you go about getting variant covers from a number of different artists, or were these sort of also other contenders or artists that that you came across with in your search, where you're like, well, I really do like the work. What was your thinking there?
Yeah. So in my research, I compiled a pretty good list of artists I was interested in. And most of them were really accepting of reaching out, and hey, they're all looking for work. So
Yeah.
once I put some work out in front of them and had good ideas, they were all really receptive. I think that's probably the best route forward is if you have a job and you find someone that you want to work with, reach out to them. They're all looking for work. We're all looking to make a living here and do something creative. So
Yeah. I think, just getting over. I mean, clearly, if you were sorting through that many resumes and that many portfolios and things, getting used to and comfortable with just interacting with people in this community is definitely one of those early hurdles. But what's nice about Kickstarters and having variant covers is that, like, even just on this one project, you now have half a dozen artists that you've given work to in some
Yep.
fashion, which is going to pay long-term dividends, or you have people that you can go back to
Yeah.
for other projects, or could consider for other projects, and you get that experience of working with a number of different people on the project, which now you'll probably don't be surprised if there are other crews. Hey, what was it like work with this person? Or hey,
Sure.
I really love this, and now all of a sudden you've got that experience. So
Yeah, making the connections was really great. Stan actually recommended Robert, who did the coloring, and his colors just added so much layer to the story.
yeah.
And I would have never met him if I wouldn't have connected with Stan.
Yeah, that's how it works. It tends to work, especially artists that do have particular colorists whose work they really like, and if they can bring that on the team, that's a nice advantage as well. Let's talk a little bit about. I mean, we mentioned, and with my bad dad pun, that's something that you will with a 1-year-old you will quickly be known, I'm sure, for the bad dad jokes, because for whatever reason or not, we have to tell them, and the kids really do get a kick out of it. It's pretty funny, and now with mine being 5 years old, like, he's coming up with more of his jokes than
Oh, great.
or about as many as I do, and he has probably about the same success rate in terms of whether they get a laugh or whether they get a head scratch or a groan
Yeah,
as I do. But he's trying.
he's a little cuter than you are, though, so that usually adds to
It
the
goes a long
value.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But let's talk a little bit about finding the time to create for busy people. This is something where this has been a desire for you, and but something where early on you've got bills to pay, and you've got a 1-year-old now at home. And so, what was it like, sort of bringing this together with those realities? And I mean, talk or set a little bit of context about what the demands on your, like, the outside of creative demands on you are right now,
Yeah.
and as you've been leading up to this launch.
Yeah, that's been the biggest obstacle, I think. Is just finding the time. Um, I'm an electrician, work in construction. We work 6 days a week, 10-hour days, sometimes 12-hour days. That's 60 hours a week away from the house, away from my family. And so when you come home, you want to be with your family, and I'm not willing to give up that time with my family either. So I had to do a lot of time blocking and try to find out when I had time to do anything in my schedule. And for me, kind of ended up being I was sacrificing an hour of sleep, waking up an hour early in the morning, waking up around 3:30, going to the work as early as I could when nobody was there, nice quiet area, and just write and plot and reach out, do my emails, that kind of stuff, and promote and do whatever else it takes for this business.
Yeah, man. The getting up extra early and devoting your those precious first couple of first hour, first set of minutes shortly after waking up and getting your brain moving. There is a time where that was like, a really key for me to sort of push through and make some things happen. I've kind of gotten away from it just with the way life throws things at, but
Sure.
for the fact that, you're able to do that, even though your day job starts relatively early, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely a sacrifice and a commitment to, finding the time when there isn't. But I mean, what I guess part of the challenge, I think, for a lot of people is the there's no guarantees that this will lead to anything or that. So
Sure.
like, how did you, day in and day out, before there was any, guarantee that there would be a market for this or that this project would actually get complete? Like, how'd you keep getting up that early?
Yeah, that's the motive, man. That's the
Yeah.
passion. I don't think if you're not passionate about this career, it won't work anyway, right? I would do this if I'm getting paid or not. So that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
That's the dream. This is where I want to be.
Awesome. Yeah. That's inspiring stuff. And also just, there are, there's like an Edison quote that's something like, about luck, but he's like, oftentimes like luck shows up in like suspenders and is working hard and is sweaty or something. I'm butchering the quote, but like, it just shows that like, yeah, like luck may play a part in some of it, but usually
Sure.
most of it is like, you've got to have done the work or gotten to a certain point before you ever have the chance to take advantage of, whether things going viral or getting read by the right person
Sure.
or retweeted by the right star or covered by the right site or, anointed. And so, and there's no, like, I think there does come a time in certain things where hard work and just hours at the keyboard is not the only thing or even the main thing.
Sure.
There's different ways that you can spend time. There's different tools that you can use to be more efficient with things. But especially at the beginning, very early on, there is no way to get around it other than to actually do the work and push through and persevere. So
sure.
I think that's important to remind people, especially those that are just getting started. As you've been bringing these first couple of projects to life, like, what would you say some of the bigger lessons that you've learned just as a creator have been?
Man, you just got to do it. Like kind of the way we were just talking, you got to put yourself in the chair, got to go at the keyboard. I would say, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there too. You gotta make connections. You gotta talk to creators. You ask questions. Your community in the comics tribe and the comics launch has been super helpful. Can't say enough about that.
Yeah. It's been, great to have you inside of Comics Launch Pro, going through the trainings, doing the work, putting the work in there. And that's, it's something where a lot of times creators that like the goal of my community is really like, okay, you've got this thing that you created that you believe in. How do we get the most out of it with a launch? And
Sure.
so, coming in at the time that you are, where it's like, okay, this thing is moving, this project is in development. Now I want to focus on, building the infrastructure that's going to allow me to launch it to people, to the world and to get it seen and to get successful on Kickstarter. So yeah, I mean, you're exactly the kind of creator with, at the time that's going to hopefully able to take really good advantage of it. And the other thing that I hope that you see within the community is that, we have creators in Comics Launch Pro that, like yourself, are launching their first launch this year, but also some that are like launch number 20.
Right.
and there are certain things that get significantly easier with every launch, and yet even at any level of creator or any level of experience, there's always going to be problems, challenges, different plateaus that people are trying to break through. And so I love just the ability that creators in our community can sort of see that and get exposed to it and sort of help them, know what kind of questions to be asking, what kinds of things to be looking out for in the future. What I guess, are there some things that, like, now, or you figured out now, that maybe you wish you knew as you were just getting started with this? Or there's some rabbit holes that you might have gone down that, like, for the person coming up behind you, you would say, hey, well, don't do this, or don't waste your time on this?
That's a good one. Let's see. Some trip falls. I would say a big part for me, I'm not the best speller. I'm not the best grammar person. I would say, man, if writing is something that you enjoy and want to make a part of your life, dig into some grammar lessons, dig into some spelling lessons, dig into get rid of the Microsoft Word thing that's correcting you all with these, actually sit down in the chair, read some books, and put the time and learn.
Were there any particular resources that related to those books, guides, etc., that helped you sort of just like, obviously I went to school, I did,
Yeah,
I'm able to be professional, but at the same time, like, these mistakes are things you forget about, or you don't even think about.
Let me look it up. There was an app that I got that was like really awesome. Khan Academy, Khan Academy. Man, that thing has so many resources on it. And it was just something that I could do really quick. Like we were just talking about, I'm pressed for time a lot.
Yeah.
Something I can just whip up on my phone, and it's got a big, really quick spelling lesson right for you, or a grammar lesson or whatever. That was super crucial.
Yeah. Nice. So I know something else about you, that you are, while still holding down your steady day job and spending time and making sure that your family time is prioritized, but you are sort of treating what you are doing with your creative aspirations seriously and as a business, and you've worked on a business plan for yourself and for your endeavors. Where are you hoping to take things? Like, what are some sort of pie in the sky goals that you have for yourself over, say, the next 5 years or so?
Yeah. I got some lofty goals here. Edge Comics is my new imprint that I'm launching. I got Eye for an Eye launching now, and I have a Fighter that we discussed earlier. That's going to be an ongoing series. I have 3 other series right behind it that I'm hoping will keep on going. I have 2 web comics that I'm hoping to launch. I have a Patreon that I'm hoping to incorporate into all this. I have contacted an advertising company. They're trying to get me into some comic stores and targeting that kind of audience. That's kind of the goal. I'm hoping to keep this moving. I can keep using Kickstarter to launch some of these as like a launching pad, and then try to do the convention route. My first convention's in September, going to Rose City.
Nice.
That'll be my first table, so that should be fun. But
so
I'm hoping
you should have this book on the table by then. Is that
that's the plan, buddy? Come see me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping this is all a launching pad. I have some lofty goals, like I'm saying.
Yeah. Now you're someone with the benefit of a name that also lends itself to a really strong name for a publishing imprint.
You lean into that stuff, right?
Yeah, you got to. But I would also, like, I'm curious, like, have you thought about beyond you, like what do you want Edge Comics to be known for? Or, Edge
Yeah,
Comics is the publisher where you go to get X, Y, or Z. Like, have
sure.
you done some sort of initial branding work
Branding.
around, that?
Yeah,
And I'm curious how you'd answer that question as you're looking into the future.
sure. Well, the Strive is for some gripping, character-driven stories with very prolific art.
Yeah.
Nice and clean. I've hit a couple different genres. They usually have a bit of an edge to them, pun intended. That's kind of what I'm trying to drive for.
Yeah. And so are you intending to write all of the series, or are you thinking about eventually, branching out or publishing other work that fits under the ethos, or have you given much thought to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where I want to go to eventually. At the moment, I got a lot of stories in my head, and I kind of want to get them out and write myself. But as the brand grows, yeah, I would definitely like to bring on some. I would love to publish other people's work and help other people, other writers, other creators get their work out there.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think it's exciting times, and when your debut comic is looking as good as Eye for an Eye is, I think that only bodes well for the future of Edge Comics. And the fact that you've shown the dedication to get up when most people won't. Usually when it's the people that are willing to do things or take actions that most people won't that get the results that most people don't have. So I'm really excited for what's to come for you, and I'm glad you're a part of our community. I think
Appreciate
we have
it.
a little bit of time for the Comics Launch speed round. It's been a little while since I've done one, but you up for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Finish this sentence. Kickstarter is blank.
A launching pad.
Very good. All right. We were discussing a little bit about before the call, just some of the rapid changes that Kickstarter has been making lately. But if you could change one thing about the Kickstarter platform, what would it be?
I think their word processor would, if that they could clean that up a little bit, give you a little bit more tools on that for the story part. I had to go into Canva and make a bunch of details and make a bunch of. If you could just do that all within one platform, I think that'd be really, really clean.
Nice. What would you say your secret weapon is? Meaning a tool, a resource, an app that you couldn't make comics without?
I write everything in Scrivener. I don't know if you've ever used Scrivener before. Super powerful platform. I really like it.
Yeah. I have Scrivener. I've tried Scrivener. I haven't ever been managed to stick with Scrivener, but at some point or another, I will try to get it down. But I do see how powerful it is. I sometimes I'll find myself getting caught up with one little bit of formatting thing that works differently in Word or it works differently in Google Docs, and I can't get it. And then I'm like, I just spent the last 20 minutes trying to get my spacing correct. And
it's got a little bit of a learning curve for sure, but it's worth it.
Yeah, great. All right. So promotion is an area that many Kickstarter creators struggle with. As a first-time creator, I feel like that's something that many creators also really do have a challenge with. But is there anything that you've found that has worked for you promotion-wise, or do you have a promotion tip for our listeners?
I think the best tip is just do it, man. Just a Nike commercial. Get out there and promote. Don't be afraid. You'll find your audience, man. You get out there and start pushing your stuff, and your family and everybody who supports you will continue to do that, and they'll push it for you, and you'll be wildly surprised with how far just a little promotion will go.
Yeah. And what kind of, as you're sort of on your day-to-day, 26 days to go, and with obviously limited time to spend promoting, what are the 2 or 3 things that you're making sure to do regularly, sort of each day throughout this campaign?
I'm brand new. I don't have much of an audience yet, and so it's just been I've been pushing the meta ads. I've been trying to get my names out there. I've been cross promoting with other creators.
Yep.
doing this podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my name out there.
Great. And then last question for the speed round. Can you recommend one comic or book not done by you that you think more people need to check out?
Yeah. Another Kickstarter comic. I just read this the other day. I Took a Hammer to Hell. Matt Graney or something. Amazing story, really good art, really fun.
Nice. All right. We'll have to check that one out.
That's a good one.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Chance. I'm excited to see just your stuff getting out there and starting to find an audience and following and knowing the vision you have for yourself and the hard work that you're willing to put in. I'm excited where it's going to go. Do you have one final piece of advice for creators who are maybe where you were at a year ago?
I think I'm going to keep on the same theme, man. Just keep pushing, keep doing it. If this is something you want to do, if this is your passion, keep rolling, man.
Nice. And then as you think about the second half of the year, what has you most excited as a creator?
I think Rose City, that first convention, getting some table time. I think that'll be really fun.
Yeah. As great as Kickstarter is, and you'll find that a lot of what you do in promoting your Kickstarter translates to the convention. But I think what you'll also find is it goes both ways, and that when you get to Rose City, hopefully you'll have a camera, you'll have somebody there assisting you, whose job is to get as many great pictures of real people interacting with you and your books and having a great time and having smiles on their faces, because then that becomes assets that you will plug back into your future Kickstarters, and it will just add another level of trust and which will help your future Kickstarter campaigns convert even better.
Good tip.
It's a very reciprocal relationship, I think, between Kickstarter and conventions. And then also, when I compare my convention experience when I just got started pre-Kickstarter days, it's like it's so much more fun to be going into your Kickstarter campaign or going into conventions where the only thing you got to pay for, if anything, is the table space. But the Kickstarter backers have already helped you fund, your print run.
Sure.
It's a lot different than like going into the red and hoping you pull yourself out of it by having a good job selling at the conventions. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be an adventure. It'll be good.
All right, so Rose City, get your copy of Eye for an Eye that you back on Kickstarter signed. Chance, I'm sure Chance will sign them for you.
Definitely,
if you show up. Besides the Kickstarter for Eye for an Eye, what's the best way for listeners to follow you and to connect with you going forward, Chance?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, same as anybody, Chance Edgerly. I also have a website, edgeofyourseats.com. That's where all the books will be available at some point.
Awesome. So that'll be your one-stop shop for all things Edge Comics and Chance Edgerly. Thanks so much, Chance, for being here and for sharing your insights with the Comics Launch audience. This is his first podcast ever, so happy to have you, crack that seal on the Comics Launch podcast.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And for everyone tuning in at home, we hope you got inspired to wake up maybe a little bit earlier or stay up maybe a little bit later to make your creative dreams come true. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see what y'all launch next.